morning. My name is Bob Russell. I'm the mayor of Pontiac, Illinois, and here we are in beautiful downtown Pontiac. And actually, we're standing right in front of the Route 66 Museum. It's the Illinois Hall of Fame Museum for all of our famous icons along Route 66. This building is full of memorabilia. There are 3 floors here with lots to see and do, and just fascinating tidbits about Route 66 and some of the famous people that lived along Route 66. So we can sure go on in and see what things look like on the inside. The first room you actually walk into here is the Route 66 restoration room. There are boards about all of the famous gas stations, restaurants, hotels that have been restored over the years to keep Route 66 alive. So this room kind of details what that's all about. As we walk into the main entry to the museum, when you come in our museum, one of the most famous people you'll see is Rose sitting at her desk over here. But this floor right here tells the history of Route 66 from Chicago to St. Louis. And there are booths all around the walls, and starting from Chicago, and as you work your way around, you'll see each town as you come by: Joliet, Braidwood Gardner, Dwight, Odell. You'll come to Pontiac. A lot of things happened here in Pontiac. Right next to that is one of the really interesting stories is this: the state police, how Route 66 was the cause of the state police taking over. Illinois became known as Bloody 66 because people would pull out not realizing the traffic was moving so fast because they'd been used to driving on dirt roads and gravel roads. So a whole story about the history of the state police and why Route 66 was responsible for that. So as we go around, lots of famous people, pictures, plaques of people that were so involved in Route 66. For sure, the old iconic gas tanks, gas pumps. One of our really neat features here is the Bob Wall Meyer van. Bob Wall Meyer lived on Route 66 for 40 years. I describe him as a leftover hippie. He actually drove this van, he lived in this van, and this was his art studio. He didn't work, he never married, he just traveled Route 66 for 40 years, and he painted and sold his paintings. He was a very famous artist. This van was one of the subjects for the icons in the movie Cars. It was named Fillmore in the movie. They couldn't quite come to agreement with Bob, but he is one of the most famous icons on 66. He actually came here and painted the mural that's on the wall over here. He painted a lot of our route murals. Some really interesting stories, and if you look real close, you'd find there's a little space on there he never finished. It's still in pencil. He would come and go, and his brother told me, Bob died in 2009. His brother told me later that he said he would call home and say, "Mom, I'm going to be home in a couple of weeks." We knew that meant within about 6 months. So he just traveled, and he came and went, and you never know when he was going to show up. But fortunately, he liked our city a lot, so he was here. Around the corner, and again, you'll see when you come here, this just goes on and on and on. We have a booth from Steak and Shake. The original Steak and Shake was on Route 66 in Bloomington, and since then they've grown around the country. So just lots of neat things. Behind you on this wall, we have a license plate collection that's got some very interesting things in it. Started in 1912. They're all metal plates until you get to 1943. In 43 through 48, you'll notice they're not metal anymore. They're made of a soybean meal because 43 through 48, every bit of metal went to the war, went to tanks and ships and guns and whatever it took. So they ended up using soybean meal to make the plates for those period of time. And the biggest problem was the goats would eat them off of the cars and the trucks. So a lot of history that falls together. And as you're here, there is a war museum upstairs, and that just kind of fits in with the whole story. So just things that you're going to learn, lots of things you're going to learn about how 66 played such an important role in the life of so many people. So as we continue to walk, we're going to actually go out the back door. I mentioned that Bob Wall Meyer was an artist. The reason his van is sitting here is because he enjoyed Pontiac's art so much, and he said Pontiac has the best art on 66, so I want my van to go here. He also determined that his second home should go here. This is the famous Wall Meyer road yacht. Everything Bob did was about Route 66. This is a 1966 school bus. He cut the top out. He put bedrooms upstairs. It's got gutters and downspouts. He collected rainwater, pumped it into a tank with a solar panel. When you come here and tour the bus, you're going to see the pipe coming to the kitchen sink, the shower, the sauna. It's just a fabulous facility. Bob died in 2009. This bus was last licensed in Illinois in 2009, but he would park it at his place out in Arizona. He'd travel California, New Mexico, and you would see this was his signboard. This was his advertising. He would park, people would see his work, and they would buy his work, and that's how he survived. One really neat story about Bob that the Chicago Tribune interviewed him right before he died on this bus, and he said, I had my choice to marry my childhood sweetheart or live my life on 66, and I feel sorry for all of you who didn't get to live the life that I did. So, but I mentioned that we had so much artwork here that he liked, and you'll see the largest Route 66 mural in the country right here on this wall. It's put here with brick off of Route 66 to bring your car here, your motorcycle here, your family here, whoever, and get your picture taken here. And it is probably the most photographed mural in the world right now. We've had people here from over 150 countries, and they all want to come and get their picture here. But as you look around this alley, we have various large murals that were painted. We had 150 artists come here for 4 days and paint our city. They were from about every state in Germany and Mexico and Canada, Hawaii, Alaska, and they came here and they just started painting. And we did 17 murals in one weekend. We now have 27 murals around our city. So lots of artwork, and again, that's why Bob said, Pontiac has the best artwork. I want my bus to go here before he passed away. So we're very fortunate to have that here. As we walk, we can see across the street, you'll see some of our murals. We make it easy when you come here. We put footsteps on the sidewalks. We have blue footsteps that take you to all of our 4 museums. We also have red footsteps that take you to all of our murals so you can do a walking tour. So since we have people from other countries that maybe don't speak very good English, once they figure out the footsteps, they're really makes it easy for them to get around. One of our favorite things right here, this is a signboard that the state of Illinois has sponsored, and if you want to really get into the Route 66 theme, we got the background. The Route 66 song is only the second most recorded song in history. The only song more often recorded was White Christmas. So there you go, Bobby Troop singing Route 66. Get your kicks on 66. So as we start walking into our downtown area, the mural across the street, that is actually Bob Wall Meyer in the mural. And how long do you think that sign would be, his last mural? It's 66 feet long. Bob that was his life, Route 66. So you'll see murals like this around our city. This one we're a little close to. This is we call it the Coca-Cola Mural. It was going to be just about the war, but when we sandblasted the building to get ready, an old ghost Coca-Cola mural came through, so the artist from Georgia, he incorporated the Coca-Cola into the war mural. So we're going to continue following the blue footsteps, which will take us on around to our other museum. We have the 66 museum we came out of. We have the War Museum, which is upstairs there. We have a Gold Museum, and we have another car museum we're going to show you. Across the street to the left, you'll see the Pontiac Chautauqua mural. We have Chautauqua Park here, the famous teaching organization from New York back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. On our street corners, we have 13 of these little cars. These cars were painted by our local artists. I think we have 14 now, maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, our high school art class painted one of them. Our adult art group painted one of them. Various artists around our city painted these little cars. They're made so you can get your picture taken in them, you can enjoy them. Not only the kids love them, but the adults love to sit and get their picture taken. We're coming up on one of our sidewalk murals. If you stand about right here and look into that, that's a shark. This is one of our Chinese artists that moved here. It's starting to need a little repair. We got to touch it up, but we have murals on the walls, murals on the sidewalks. Across the street, as we walk on around to our other museums, you'll see the famous county courthouse. This building was restored a few years ago. They spent about $7 million. It's open during the day. During the week, you can walk in on your own and go around. It's a beautiful building that's been restored. So a lot of history here. As you know, Abraham Lincoln, he practiced here. This was the northern end of his circuit. He had a 1,600-mile circuit every year where he traveled by horseback, and he would come here and he would set up on the lawn and set up a chair or a log, and he would have clients come here that he would take care of. So a lot of Lincoln history in our city that just ties it together. We're not sure if Lincoln ever met Chief Pontiac, but there's a possibility. Our city is named after the famous Indian chief, Chief Pontiac. The car is named after Chief Pontiac. So we kind of brought that all together here. Across the street, you'll see some of the murals. There's two more murals. The one on the right is Chief Pontiac. A lady from California painted that. On the left is Jesse Fell, who founded ISU and a lot of Pontiac. And here comes a big semi, so be careful. Another one of our streetcars. We love to have visitors here. It's just a daily scene. I don't care what day you come here. You'll normally meet somebody from around the country. Again, we've had over 150 countries that we know of. I have a phone that I can speak in 58 languages, and I've used almost all of them, even with countries I've never heard of before. So here you'll see the red footsteps and the blue footsteps kind of all together. And again, if you don't know any English, and we can show you, we can make you understand the footsteps, then you can get around our city, and without a lot of fear. We're walking by the Museum of Gilding and Arts. This is the people that beat the gold down, made it so thin that you could put it on the window. That is 24 karat gold, and it tells the history of the gilders, basically. And they have moved their museum here, and it's very, very interesting. A lot of history, things I didn't know anything about until they moved here. As we go this way, we have various stores. This is a private art store here, right here in our city. You can see some unique characters in the window. More of our cars. We're coming up on the Pontiac-Oakland Car Museum. As I mentioned, our city was named after Chief Pontiac, and the car is named after Chief Pontiac. And this building, 3 rows of buildings and upstairs are full of cars and memorabilia about the Pontiac. So we're going to go on down and go in there. Unfortunately, the Pontiac went out of business, and when they did, the gentleman who owns this museum was known as Mr. Pontiac. The New York Times and other large newspapers, 60 Minutes, they sent reporters to his house in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. He eventually moved this museum to Pontiac, Illinois, which he thought was appropriate because of the name with Chief Pontiac and what was going on here. So you just walked into the Pontiac-Oakland Car Museum, and I say Pontiac-Oakland. Before GM made the Pontiac, they made the Oakland car. Oakland is a very high-end car. It was very expensive. In 1926, after Depression, they thought, wow, we've got to come up with something else. So in 26, they started making the Pontiac. The interesting thing about that is Route 66 was also started in 1926. So they both are celebrating their 90th anniversary, the Pontiac Automobile and Route 66 this year. So this is one of the most famous of all. It's the Pontiac Judge. It's been restored. The color on this car was only 6 of these were ever made. So it's very rare. So a lot of the vehicles in here you're going to see as we walk around are very rare automobiles. The famous GTO. When I was a youngster in high school, this was the car everybody wanted to have. And I couldn't have one because they were more expensive than I could afford. But the people that designed these, Jim Wanger's up on the wall, known as the Godfather of the GTO. He's been here. Most of these famous designers have been here. He shared a story with me. He said, I worked in my office all day, but I went out at night and I raced with the young guys, and that's how I came up with the GTO. So, very, very bright guy and just a really swell guy. I met Wangers, Bill Collins. I didn't meet DeLorean. He's passed away, but DeLorean was very involved in this business, the GTO, all the Pontiac cars. So, the famous Chief standing in the window here in our glass case. Yeah. In the case over here, we have every hood ornament ever made by Pontiac, starting in 1926, and you'll notice they're all the Indian Chief. Okay, and then you can see how as the country evolved and the speed got faster, the style changed all the way down to what appears to be the stealth bomber. So this is the only collection in the world of all of the Pontiac hood ornaments. As you look around, I mentioned it was the Oakland. This is one of the 1912 Oakland. Okay. One of the early cars, a very high-end car. Again, you had to be wealthy pretty much to have one of those. This car you're seeing here is got 8,000 miles on it. It's just like new. It's been donated to the museum to be on display. Tim Dye, the owner of the museum, he rotates these vehicles on a regular basis. Matter of fact, Tim Dye just walked up behind me. This is Tim Dye, moved his collection here from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and we have been for sure blessed to have this in our city. Tim?
I guess I can take over and tell you a little bit about some of the things. Actually, this is the beginning of Pontiac history right here. This is an 1890s Pontiac Buggy made in Pontiac, Michigan. This is the beginning of the Pontiac Company. That was in 1893. Then in 1907, they set space aside and started making automobiles and called them Oakland because Pontiac, Michigan was in Oakland County. So then GM was formed in 08. In 09, GM bought the Oakland Motor Car Company, so it was General Motors making Oakland. And then in 26, they put a companion car with it, bringing back the Pontiac name from the Buggy and made the two of them together from 1926 to 1931. And then during the Depression, the more expensive Oakland didn't fare as well, so they dropped it, and it was just the Pontiac clear up until 2010. So over here is our garage scene, and we have a 1940 Pontiac Business Coupe right now on display. And here also is 1,350 oil cans, which is part of our oil can collection we have here housed at the museum. On the display stand there is a 1961 half-and-8 4-cylinder engine, which was come out of a Tempest, which was Motor Trend Car of the Year that year. The doors you see here came from a Pontiac dealer in Springdale, Arkansas that was being torn down. They were in between the showroom and the service department, and I found out about them and brought them here, and we basically built the garage around the doors so we could display those. Over here we have a very famous car. This is a 69 Grand Prix Nascar race car that raced in 31 NASCAR races in the 1969-70 NASCAR season. It has a Ram Air 5 motor in it, which was only available to known racers at the time. So this was found in a wrecking yard. The NASCAR car was, and then restored to as race condition. Over here is 64 Parisian Safari wagon. Again, this is another unique Pontiac. It was a Canadian-built car, and as such, the Canadian-built Pontiacs back in that day had a Chevrolet chassis and drivetrain. So you might notice the wheels are set in somewhat. That's because Pontiacs were known as the wide track cars, and that was more than just a slogan. They actually had a wider track, and this car demonstrates that very well. In the background is Starved Rock State Park on our big picture. That also has some Chief Pontiac history. Here in the museum, everything is kind of about the Chief.
Yeah, everything's about the Chief. Yeah. So, and you notice this is the original RV sitting here.
You want to take him to the basement?
If we can.
10 minutes. We will. All right. Okay. What we're going to do is kind of take you to part of our behind-the-scenes tour in the basement.
Yeah. This building has 3 floors of, again, cars, memorabilia. This is a little behind-the-scenes tour that you're going to be privileged to get to see. This building was formerly a clothing store, and this was the basement where they kept their extra supplies. Now it's a great place that everybody wants to come. Yeah, Tim mentioned that he had 1,300 oil cans upstairs, and that's about half of his collection.
So down here is the rest of the oil cans. Of course, they come from all over the country, and they all have a lot of history. And of course, the gas station was very much associated with driving because everyone had to buy gas. So not only the memories of driving the cars, but also the memories of stopping at the gas station and the days of full service, and when a gas station was a service station back then. Yeah,
but a lot of difference between today.
So the old signs and the cans and bring back a lot of memories for our visitors to the museum. A lot of people don't know or remember, but a lot of the oil companies have their own products like tires. This is a city service tire. They would have their own air filters, oil filters, all kinds of parts.
We actually have a question.
Okay.
Hannah asked, is anyone able to enter this area, or is it specifically?
No, it's an extra charge. The museum is free to come into, but we do have, if you set it up in advance, it's a $5 charge per person to do the behind-the-scenes tour, which includes this part of the museum, the upstairs, and our shop down the street.
Yeah. Okay. And as you come down, you'll see that this just goes on and on. Pretty neat story here. I'm going to have Tim tell you about this sign.
My wife's great-grandfather, he ran a Troco station in Sperry, Oklahoma. And Troco stands for Tulsa Refined Oil Company. And prior to World War II, the swastika, which meant peace and good luck, it's an ancient symbol, was used widely on a variety of things. So, but the company chose that symbol as their logo. They started in 1914. So over here we have a can as well with that logo on it, and very rare these pieces are today. And here's what they did after Hitler came along. It was boxed in and became like a diamond. But
they were able to stay in business.
Yeah, and they're still in business today. They don't have any gas stations, but they fill oil and grease and service about 18 states in the Midwest. So the cans have a lot of history and neat stories like that behind them. So.
And I will tell you, Tim knows every story. He knows every can, every story. And they might just look like cans. There's every shape, size. There's plastic. There's the milk carton type. There's everything. I had mentioned over in the other museum about not being able to get any metal during the war. You couldn't get metal for cans either. And so they tried all kinds of different...
Glass, a lot of glass.
Yeah, so...
We have another...
Little room around the corner here. And Tim, altogether about 2,600 cans.
Yeah, I've not counted all of them, but don't have the time. The Pontiac letters are from a dealership in Virginia called Roughton Pontiac, and they were donated to the museum. They were part of a much bigger sign. And then over here we have a collection of Pontiac hubcaps from different vintages. And in the display cases, there's center caps off of the wheels, there's keychains, emblems.
Whatever there was, it's here.
Yeah, we just have collected anything to do with Pontiac. So, there's some fairly rare emblems in the collection here. So.
Tim is known as the ultimate collector. Actually, there's a book out called The Ultimate Collector that highlights a lot of this. And after you come here and see all this, you'll know why he's known as the ultimate collector.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we head back up? Okay.
All right.
We'll do that. If we had a lot more time, we'd go through the upstairs and another building and a lot of things. So,
we just had our annual Pontiac show where we had over 200 Pontiacs out in front of the museum. And that turned into kind of our biggest event and also fundraiser for the museum.
I can tell a quick funny story while we're walking up. We have so many tour buses that come here, and we were having this show one weekend, and literally about 80% of the cars around the square were GTOs or some type of Pontiac. And I had a lady on a bus from England. She said, Mayor, she said, do you have to own a Pontiac to live here? And I said, no, but it helps because every car in the square was pretty much a Pontiac. On this tour, you get a really good look at the city of Pontiac, up and down.
This is a 1980 Firebird called the Yellowbird. It was specifically made for ladies. Very rare to find those today. And beside it is a 76 Trans Am 50th Anniversary Edition, which was the first time the black and gold color combination was used, which the following year would become very famous in the Smokey and the Bandit movie. And earlier this year, we had the Bandit run come through with over 100 Trans Ams, the semi-truck, the police car. It was just a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
The director of the movie, Hal Needham, I got to meet him at a show a couple of years ago, and he told me, he said, Burt Reynolds drove these cars hard in that movie, Smokey and the Bandit. It took 12 cars to start with, and when they got done, it took parts from all 11 to keep one of them running. That's how they tore it up.
Yeah. And then over here is our research library. In here we have shop manuals, parts books, dealer technical bulletins, color chips, press release kits, really anything to do with Pontiac we have in here. And people come here and do research about their cars. The colors is one of the most common questions we get asked about. And so we're able to help. Also, we have over 300 model kits in our collection, and 200 of them are on display here in the library.
Those are in the upper rows, the last top two rows.
A lot of memories there because a lot of people as kids would build the kits, and they can come in here and see the ones that they had built years before.
One morning early, I was here, and 3 guys from Germany came in, and they had specifically been looking for a part for a Fiero and some information on it. And they came here. They'd been looking all over the country, and they came here. And Tim opened a book and found it for him. And the guy said, "The Holy Grail." Mm-hmm. And so, whatever you need to find, Tim's got it in all the manuals here. So, okay, we're going to go on out here. We got
This is a '61 Ventura, and it's kind of the best of its vintage. It has a 421 with 2 4-barrels. It's a 4-speed car, bucket seats, and has Pontiac's famous 8-lug wheels on it. Those are kind of an iconic wheel that's only Pontiac. Beside it is a '69 Judge project. It was found in a field in Idaho, and the person that owns it has restored the chassis and the drivetrain, but has not touched the body, and was not going to be able to get to finish this project. So I said, why don't you bring it here until you can get back to it and display it? And so it's been a very popular display.
It gives people hope because that very likely looked like this, and it gives people an idea of what you can do with an old...
well, and we get a lot of Route 66 visitors who are not car people. Yeah. They've never seen what a car looks like underneath, what the chassis looks like. Yeah. So it's been a very, very good display. And then beside it is a completed Judge, and this is a 1970 Gto Judge. It's actually in the rarest color called mint turquoise metallic. This sold brand new at Milner Pontiac on Route 66 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We think it's one of 6 judges painted this color. We finished the restoration last year. We did every nut and bolt and clip on this car. It's a 4-speed. With air conditioning, it's got the hood pack. Of course, all Judges came standard with the Ram Air engine. And today at auctions like on Barrett Jackson and this is the kind of car you see on TV, and they have gone up in value quite a lot. But anyway, if you're ever in Pontiac, Illinois,
here we go.
Come and see us at the...
One last quick story. If you look above the counter over there, you're going to see a large photo, and that's the first car, the 1926 Pontiac that came off the assembly line at the New York International Auto Show, and you'll notice that the Indian tribe is actually there at the dedication. That really emphasizes the connection of the chief and the car. And so our city is named after Chief Pontiac the car, and we have all of that history right here in our city. So,
all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for letting us take a tour of the place.
Thank you for being here.
And we're going to sign off, and thank you again.
Okay.
And make sure to come down to Pontiac. It's a great place, especially if you love Route 66. Definitely worth a visit.
Thank you.